Hi, it's Alistair at Electric Scotland. I just wanted to raise this video. It's about the legal system in Scotland. Just a few things have happened lately which I've been watching carefully to see what's happening. And basically, there's been a kind of major move in the polls in Scotland, whereas, in the last 20 odd weeks or so, or 20 polling statistics have come out with Scotland saying it's 58% want independence. Well, in fact, with the latest 3 or 4 polls that have come out, it's now showing that some 57% of Scots now want to remain in the UK. And that's a fairly big switch around, to be honest. And I am beginning to feel that it's because of, firstly, the Alex Salmon and Nicola Sturgeon debacle that's been going on. I think anyone that looks at that with a fair mind would say the SNP are hiding all kinds of things. And, when the Nicola Sturgeon, the First Minister, gave her evidence to the committee, if somebody was recorded like 56 times, she said she didn't know or was unsure or basically, she just couldn't recollect things, which is pretty damning indictment, to be honest, of a First Minister. Usually they've got tons of remits and they've got tons of notes. But then it was discovered that her main civil service minister, she takes notes at all the meetings, but then apparently when the meeting's over, she just rips them up and throws them away. And of course, there's a lot of people thinking, that just doesn't sound true, to be honest with you. But what actually brought all this to a head is that David Davis, who's an MP in England and Wales, he used his parliamentary privilege to prove the SNP have lied. Now, I would just point out that in his talk, which is about 20 minutes in length, he does point out that while there's a parliamentary privilege in Westminster, there is not a parliamentary privilege in the Scottish Parliament. And he's calling into question the legality of the Parliament at Holyrood. And I think, when I heard about what was going on there, I was astonished. Apparently there's no separation between justice and government, which is bad news for anyone. So I would encourage you to watch that video. It says about, I think in total the video is 22 minutes, but his talk is about 20 minutes of that. And I would encourage you to have a look at it, because no matter whether Scotland were independent or not, we need a good legal system in force to protect people's rights. And then following that, we've just had the hate crime bill in Scotland, which has now been passed by the majority of MSPs in the Scottish Parliament. And what I found particularly troubling here is that in Westminster, they also have a hate crime bill, but in there's what's called a dwelling defence, meaning that people can't be prosecuted for what they say in their own homes. But essentially, that's been refused to be included in the Scottish hate crime bill, which actually means that whatever you say in your own home, you can now be prosecuted for. And I think that's appalling. But the other thing about the hate crime bill, there's no mention of women or girls in there. So again, I'm going to give you a page in the comment section to look at, because I've embedded the YouTube video, which is on the Davis about parliamentary privilege and stuff like that. I've also included a short video which summarises the problems of the hate crime bill, and then a much longer video, which is a final debate in the Scottish Parliament about it, where one of the MSPs makes a case for why girls and women should have been included in that, but they weren't. And I also note that the Justice Minister, who essentially brought up this bill, um, he was recorded as listing all the senior positions in Scotland that were run by white people. And I just wanted to note, and I put it on the page, that the people of Scotland, 96% of them claim to be white. So if 96% are white in Scotland, there's no, I mean, why shouldn't all the major positions in Scotland be white people? I mean, it seems ridiculous, but obviously I think he's very biased and racist, that guy. You know, and I think we need to look at him because, I mean, he's in charge of our justice system. And then, well, I think that's really what I wanted to say was I think you should listen to the first two videos at least. And if you've got the time, do look at the longer debate in Parliament, because I think that's quite interesting. I also would ask you to think about education, because as you know, that's a devolved competence in Scotland. So basically the Scottish Parliament can do anything you wish with education. But under the SNP government, we note that we're falling behind every year. Our education used to be the best in the world. Now we're just also rans, really, very average. But I note that there was an international body was given the task to do a report on Scotland's education, which is, I think it's their curriculum for excellence. And they've released the report, and it's in the Scottish Government's hands. But we're not going to get to see that report until June, which is after the May elections. Well, I think that, plus Nicola Sturgeon's pretty poor performance in giving evidence to that committee, and it just goes to show more and more seems to be hidden by the SNP government. I think people are getting quite worried in Scotland about all these facts coming out because, to be honest with you, the Scottish press have been totally cowed. I mean, there's no guts in the Scottish press. They're not holding the government to account. If this was all happening in Westminster, people would have been sacked or resigned by this time. But the Scottish press, journalists, pathetic, absolutely pathetic. And that's why I've been looking at the express.co.uk, because every day there's comments on what's happening in Scotland, whereas as far as Parliament's concerned, whereas you never hear anything on any other people, very rarely do you hear anything. I think there's starting to be comments now that basically a daily record about the new polling showing most people in Scotland now want to remain in the UK. But it's pretty an exciting time coming up with these new elections in May, so we'll see how all that goes. But I'd certainly encourage you to look at it, and I'll give you the URL to the page where I've embedded these 3 videos. But certainly you should watch the first 2, I believe anyway. And I think that will give you some, well, frankly, it should make you think. It really should. So I'll leave it at that. And if you go and watch those videos and make up your own mind, essentially. But I think it's well worth looking at. Okay, well, thanks for listening.